Action.
All right. Hello. Once again, welcome to Real Talk Live with wArnette D. Love. And like I told you, my guest was going to be Dr. Bill Dawson. We were going to have his wife, but she didn't make it with us today. But I know we got lots to talk about because we talk about Portsmouth. So welcome and thank you so much for coming. Okay, so now let me try to open it up a little bit. Dr. Dawson, could you tell us about yourself?
I am currently an endodontist, ex-aerospace engineer, ex-nursery maker, whiskey maker, beekeeper, gardener.
Just staying busy. I mean, just
life is too short.
I know it. I do a lot of stuff
not
too.
Not to do one of everything.
Yes, I like that. And I do a little bit. I'm a realtor.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I retired as a deputy sheriff in the city of Chesapeake. I do my own business. I got a clothing business. I have a consultant business, and then I have this entertainment business. And what I did was I just resigned from working for anybody, so I'm gonna put all my energy into my own stuff and try
being the entrepreneur.
Yes, just stepping out of the boat. So yeah, I know. I got to catch up with you though. So we're gonna talk about Portsmouth, y'all, and it is so much going on in Portsmouth. So I wrote a few questions so we can kind of keep on trying. So what's your opinion of the state of our city?
I think it's in the hole. I think it's nothing but dirt, and we've lived all over the country. We've lived in Arizona, California, Florida, New Jersey when I went to school in New York, and so I've got a comparison points to compare what our culture and our finances are like here. And I don't think it's very pretty at all. I think there's some small lights in the city, but when my brother-in-law used to be a pastor out in Vallejo, California. And his ministry was to the homeless people of the area. And the city there in Vallejo, which was considered the poor area of the district, in my opinion, is better off than Portsmouth is. People used to talk bad about it, but Vallejo, and I'm thinking, well, Portsmouth isn't that good. I mean, we're really in bad shape. But I think part of it has to do with the culture that we have here. And my ancestors are all from here. One of the neighborhoods is named after one of my ancestors, Shea Terrace.
Oh, okay.
Is over there. My ancestors were the O'Sheas, who came over and were so horribly discriminated against as the Irish that they were, to feel safe, they changed their name to Shea. When they came over, established the neighborhood. I don't even know much about it there, but when my father married my mother, we moved to West Parkview. And for a short time lived there. Then we moved out to Western Branch. My father was the first oral surgeon here in '62. And my grandparents ran a store initially downtown here at Portsmouth called Boyce and Kirschmeyer's. Later to become Kirschmeyer's out at where Chesapeake Square Mall is now.
Wow. So you're rooted here. You have roots here, and I can tell from watching you on Facebook the amount of care that you have for our city. Now, so do you feel that that's what we're lacking? People that care, or what do you think our
I don't know. When I grew up here, I couldn't go anywhere without people going, "Oh, that's Dr. Dotson's son." Everybody in town knew me because Dad did everybody's wisdom teeth. So I bolted out of here as quick as I could as a teenager in '75. And we were at the tail end of integration at that point. Integration had been going on since the late 50s. A lot of people think it didn't come until the 60s, but it really started back in the 50s. But they were still fighting it here in Portsmouth. I mean, they were horribly fighting it. Forced integration, as they called it, didn't happen until the late 60s here. Is when they had forced integration, and it wasn't pleasantly done. The people living here didn't like it on either side, and that culture of separation that I saw in those conflicts in the high schools still exists.
So that was when they just forced them to move with the high schoolers and stuff like that. What else did they force as far as?
Well, Churchland was annexed.
Okay.
It was part of the county at that time.
Okay.
And that's why Chesapeake was formed.
Okay.
Because Portsmouth annexed Churchland. don't know if you go back that far.
Mm.
But the people weren't pleased about it because Portsmouth needed tax money. They were very, very poor in tax money.
Okay.
The real estate taxes weren't generating enough, similar to what we have now.
Okay.
So the annexed Churchland and all of Old Norfolk County said, well, to heck with this, we're going to go ahead and form a city, so you can't annex any more of us. Watch this.
Gotcha.
And the city of Chesapeake was born out of that annexation.
Oh, okay.
That's how it came about.
Okay.
Churchland was dominantly white.
Okay. Okay.
The areas of Portsmouth that are black now were dominantly black then.
Okay.
And the separation of the schools, Churchland schools, people thought that it's our area, we'll just keep it from the people from our area. And over here, we'll just keep it from the people in our area. And the government came in and said, no, you have to integrate.
Got you.
You have to bus people across the town to integrate the schools.
Because I heard that they wanted Churchland to be like another city at one time.
At one time,
Okay.
they had proposed it to be another city. They were fighting it to not be part of Portsmouth, but the Portsmouth legals won, and it got annexed by the city of Portsmouth.
Oh, okay, okay. So you say we're
But that culture, anyway, we started out talking about the culture.
Yeah.
That culture of separation that we had back then, the black schools were very much less funded than the white schools. And so the black kids weren't getting as good an education. But the cultures coming into the schools weren't equal either.
Okay.
Parents back then, there was not a culture to encourage the kids to be successful. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah. Was it like they just had the basic things that they did, the basic jobs?
There was a sense of hopelessness in the black culture.
Oh, really? Okay.
There's no sense in us doing anything because we'll never achieve anything.
Okay, so the mindsets.
The mindset.
We're basically not.
And I don't know that it's gotten any better. When I came back. So my point being, I left in '75,
Okay.
and I saw this separation of cultures. I come back in here just 2 years ago, and I'm still seeing the same problem in the cultures. There's still this big line that separates our races here, and of all these places that I've lived, I've never seen it so bad as I see it here in Portsmouth.
Now, and I agree. Now, I think it was. Now, I was born in '72, when my mother went to Norcom, and she was part of the integration where they moved her, and they was like, but I saw a lot of those people going into entrepreneurships and making their way and having motivation. That's what I know, because I know my mother did. And even though my mother worked for the hospital for years, she always had.
I bet she knew my dad. Which hospital?
Maryview.
Oh, yeah, I bet. Well, I worked there.
Did you?
And you were born in '72?
I was born in '72.
Okay, well, I worked at Maryview in the ER.
Really?
In '74 and '75.
Oh, okay.
I might have worked with your mother.
You may have. And what she did was she had her own business for years. She did hair.
Right.
And so she would go to work, she'd go do hair, and that's how she, made her way. So, and my father, he always had his own business as well. But so what I saw is that we did more back then, as a black culture, black race, than we do now. Now, I do see what you're seeing now. It's like we just don't have a clue. And it is the parents, like with me, I'm pushing my son. My son starts school in August, college in August. But if we don't push our kids, you're right. No hope. They don't,
No, they fall into this no hope mindset.
Yes.
But you're an entrepreneur. Your mother's encouraged you. You encourage your kids. So you know a lot about the success principles taught by all the great lecturers, Tony Robbins, all the guys. We have one of them that lives here in Churchland.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Dwayne Cotton. You're not familiar with him?
No, I'm not.
He did the TV show about when they build a house in a day.
I don't remember. I need to write him down so I can
Yeah, if you have a chance to have him in, he'd be a great
Dwayne Cotton. Okay.
Dwayne Cotton. Yes.
But yeah, and I think it's important what you're saying. We have to encourage our kids, and that was one of my things right there, to show the kids, look, there's more. Because I was in the military, I traveled, I've seen different things. There is more than just Portsmouth. There is more than just,
so much more.
Yes, and if the parents aren't putting that in their kids, we're losing them there, because this is all they see.
Right.
So I agree with you as far as right now. I think that we could be doing a lot more.
A lot more.
With our children.
A whole lot more.
Yeah. So okay. So let's talk about the casino. What you think about that? Did you want it?
I haven't been over here. No, I was not enthusiastic about it being where it is.
Okay.
I think that the downtown waterfront property would have been a perfect location for it.
I think so too.
I think part of the problem was they couldn't make it work in time with the city council, because the city council we've had, the last 4 or 5 city councils have been dysfunctional too. And I'm seeing some light, but I think that to get Portsmouth out of this hole, we need to have leaders that can draw us out. And part of the problem is they've gotten so many years of this culture of not doing anything, and nobody's setting goals, measurable goals. I went into one of the financial reports measuring the financial stress of our city, and we are in every measure, we are in the bottom 10 of every measure that I can find for the state. There's 133 cities and counties in the state. Of those, we are bottom 10 of every measure that we can find.
Wow.
Of it. So Portsmouth is not in great shape. But I went and presented some of these numbers to city council members and to the city manager. And they looked at me and says, well, our credit rating is a AA. And I'm like, so what about the other 99 measures? You've got one that you've achieved that you're a AA, and you could be a AAA, but you're not. And the stress that we have on our city, the taxation that we have in our city is to the limit. People are performing, people are giving money, and they're satisfying the financial needs of the city. But we're basically taxing the poor to feed the poor. And that doesn't work. We have a big imbalance in the city where we used to have, were you here for Planters Peanuts?
No.
When the Skippy factory was here?
But yeah, well, I was a little girl.
Were you a little girl? It's gone. I mean, what other industry do we have that is taxable? A lot of people don't know the basic economics of the city are the more industry you have, the more money you have. The more houses you have, the more need you have. So one of the balances in a city is to have more industry and less houses. That way you can have money to support the people that have houses, to support the schools. The taxable money from a household has to be so high that your city is just a bedroom community, what they call bedroom, that you can't support schools.
And so like right now we kind of dependent on what we're taxing the houses the
to get the schools. And it doesn't work that way if you study basic economics of a city. You can't do that. You can't tax households enough in a bedroom committee to support the infrastructures that you need. And we're seeing that with all the people that are appearing at city council right now. We're seeing that where people are going, I can't pay any more taxes. And they're right, and the property values aren't going up that much. In reality, in this temporarily false assessment that we had that they're trying to solve, and the lady solving it looks like she's going to do a wonderful job.
I believe so. I'm not exactly sure if she had anything to do with it, but I noticed that even my utility bill was a little low this month than it was last month. I mean, I'm not sure she has anything to do with it, but I know that assessment, and what gets me is a lot of people don't understand your assessment and the appraisal of your house is different. You know, your assessment, they determine how much taxes you're gonna pay, you know. And then but your appraisal, that's when you're trying to sell your home, the appraiser come out and tell you how much it's worth and how basically helps the bank and all that.
Well, the assessment is basically your appraisal at the time you bought it. But that can change. The assessment then goes and changes based on what other properties are and what they feel like from that initial value. And it changes very slowly. Whereas an appraisal you might get is that immediate value at that time. The assessment might lag quite a bit and might be completely different depending upon how much time they've had to update it.
But and you know, I've seen where the appraisal was lower than the assessment value of the house, and
you can go into the city and have that fixed. So there are state codes that give you the methodology. There's 3 methods of doing that if you go into the state code that you can present to any city. But right now, the city assessor is saying, forget that. You just come in and see me and I'll fix it for you. I'll run into your neighborhood and I'll do it right there immediately for you. You don't have to go through this lengthy process of presenting me with what they call comps.
So the one that they just hired is doing that now. So for those of you that's watching and who's going to watch the show, like Dr. Dawson said, the lady that they hired will try to work with you on what your house was assessed on a couple months ago. if you feel that.
Without going through the lengthy process.
Without the lengthy process.
Right.
So.
And it's very difficult sometimes to go through that process as the state has mandated. So she's relaxing the rules for a while.
Now, does she have a certain time that people can go in, or just
I asked. She says until we get everything straightened out, she's going to be very receptive to people coming in.
Yeah, I saw that everybody was really excited about seeing her come back.
Yeah.
Yes. So had some hope.
Well, we had the same problem. We lived in Gloucester for a while, and they had the same problem. They brought in a new assessor, and they didn't have a program that sort of went out there and found properties or associated properties that were similar. So they brought in a program, and then they had to straighten the program out, and it took a while to get it done.
Okay.
Up there too. So I've been through this process before, and this lady seems very, very receptive.
Yeah, because I saw where she was like immediately when she was like, there were some problems, there were some issues, so she was.
So apparently they have a new program that is supposed to do better than the old program did. And what it does is it goes in and it finds properties that are similar to yours and says, what's the value? If this house sold for 200 and this house sold for 250 and your house is similar to those, then it should be in that same value.
And that's how we do it with the real estate as well when we get our
comps.
Yeah, the compensation for your home. So.
Well, yes, sir. You're in real estate. You can pull up comps real quick for people.
Yeah. Well, I'm in referral, so I don't do. But I'm a licensed active real estate agent since 2006.
Good.
Thank you. So now, let's talk about this crime. The crime in Portsmouth. Is there anyone to blame? This is what I want to say. Who's to blame?
Why do we want to point blame?
And
I think that's the problem, is that we're not looking in the right place.
Yeah.
That's why I keep looking at city council and saying, if we could define a goal for the city, to say, look, we're in the bottom 10 now. How do we get into the top half? If we could define goals. When I was a kid, President Kennedy, one of the big presidents that I admire all my life, John F. Kennedy, set a goal to get to the moon. All of America united behind that goal. We had technology come from NASA and other organizations that revolutionized the world. It's where computers came from. It's where our phones came from. And that single focused direction on a goal made America step up to a whole new platform of living. Changed the way everybody was doing everything. And I think in Portsmouth, we need that same idea. We need to focus more on a goal rather than saying who's to blame.
Right.
And our minds are, some of our people are going back and back and back. One of our council members who's constantly harping on discrimination in the city wants, in my opinion, wants to blame every white person for every problem the city's ever had. And so I go to the meetings and I'm sitting there in the meetings thinking, I left in 75 when I was a teenager. I've been back 2 years. I didn't have anything to do with anything that happened up to this time, but I'm to blame because I'm white. I'm like, that's the philosophy that seems to be in this city, that because I'm white, I'm to blame. I haven't been here.
Yeah.
Why does the finger keep pointing at me?
Right.
And we don't need people like that in our city. These are people that are looking backwards, saying, we're here because, and yes, we need to keep that perspective of history because we don't want to make those same mistakes.
Right.
But the way we get out of it is not to go point blame.
Right.
It's to look forward and say, what's the goal? How do we get from this bottom 10 to number 50?
Yeah, and I ask you that because, you hear, it's the Commonwealth Attorney, it's the police chief, it's the city manager, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it seems like you said, everybody's trying to point fingers in our city on the blame of the crime. But I do feel that we need a plan. And
you're doing that with your kids too. You're setting goals for them, right? Why can't we do that as a city?
Right.
If we could set those goals as a city the same way a good parent like you does, we need to do those things for the city, parent the city. Yeah. And our city, so I've been to interview a number of department managers. And one consistent theme I've gotten from them is, I can't do that because I might lose my job. I'm like, a good department leader takes us in the right direction. They're not concerned about whether their job is on the line. If they're going in the right direction, they will make waves and somebody's going to object to it. Every good leader gets objection.
But and I can understand that, because if you notice, a lot of times the way these people around here losing their jobs in the city of Portsmouth is almost like they're, like you say, they're afraid to do what's right.
Right.
Until they get validation that, they're safe.
Right.
Job security?
So I went to economic development with this idea that things are out of balance.
Okay.
And economic development told me, well, it's really not my job, that's planning's. So I went over to planning, and they said, well, that's really not our job, it's economic development's.
Oh my goodness.
And as an example, and if you interview a number of people, there's very, very few in the city that are willing to step up and take the challenge and come to the city council as department leaders and say, these are my goals for the year. Now we're having a big retreat April, I want to say 14th and 15th or 13th and 14th, I'm not sure.
Okay.
There's a big retreat that the city council is having. And they haven't had a retreat in 4 or 5 years. I don't know how many years, but about 4 or 5 years. But if you go back and look at the last retreat, some of the ideas and the goals they've set forward, and they've set goals every year. But if you read them, you look at them and go, okay, your goal was to reduce crime. Great, what's your plan? What are your numbers that you want to reduce crime with? You haven't spoken to the subject. Right. Saying that you want to reduce crime is a feel good, but it doesn't get anything done because you haven't looked at it and said, we want to reduce murders from 300 to 100. Give me that number, because that number is what matters in our growth.
Do they even discuss how they want to do it or how they plan on doing it?
Go back and look at the last council, and they had a crime reduction plan.
Okay. Okay.
I looked at it myself, and I'm going to be very critical here of it.
Okay, I'm listening.
My opinion was, and I told a couple of council members this the other day, and they got very angry with me. I said a 5th grader could have written a better plan. I said it was that bad, and they're not sticking to it. They're not monitoring it to improve it. They simply put it out there and said, "This is our plan."
Yeah.
And then it disappeared.
I'm gonna watch that today.
Yeah, if you go in the crime plan, and you can see this very rudimentary. There's no measurable goals in it. And I think if we had a city council that would set some goals, and we do have some talking about it. The new school board member that came over to city council. Vernon Tillage. Very interested in setting measurable goals. Admiral Hugel, very interested in setting measurable goals. But some of them don't understand it.
So it looks like we're moving forward with the city council, with the new council members, and so hopefully
I'm seeing some sparks. I haven't seen a fire yet.
Okay. Sparks.
There's a difference between sparks and a fire.
Yes, sparks. Okay. Yeah, but I mean, we got to be hopeful. But
I know, but in one of these, if we just pick one of these measures, and there's another report out there, the Virginia's stress report that you can go into online too, that measured it in 2020.
Okay.
And in 2019, they measured the financial stress of our city. You can go into that and it gives you 4 different measures, 5 different measures.
Okay.
The average median income, how much tax we are, how much stress that tax puts on our city residents in there. And it says we are, again, one of the top 10 stressed. So we're succeeding in that. We're stressing the heck out of everybody. But that report kind of tells you that we are supporting a poverty culture here.
Yeah.
Now, in my opinion, if you're taxing the poor to pay the poor, you're not making any progress.
Right.
So we have to take that burden and either increase the number of rich people we have or reduce the number of poor people we have. That's the only way to get out of this. Right. Because right now it's imbalanced. One lady stood up at city council and she says, well, all these rich people over in Churchland, and I'm like, the richest person in Churchland is equal to the poorest person in Vallejo, California, and Vallejo is considered the poorest city in that area. So tell me where these rich people are is what I want to say to her. And that's because people in Portsmouth live in this microcosm where they think that people that have money here have money. And I'm like, no, they don't. I've lived all over the United States. I can tell you what a rich person is.
Gotcha.
Portsmouth does not have any rich people. They don't live here. We don't have them to tax. We need to get more rich people or less poor people.
And to get the less poor people, you got to change the mindsets. For one, they got to be willing to go out and do what they need to do to change their environment, should I say. That's the way, you know what I'm saying? Instead of thinking, I can do this, and we're talking about criminal actions, put that same mindset and being a legal money-making entrepreneur, and I think, because, when you look at some of the things that they do as criminals,
Right.
And I'm not trying to stereotype or anything. I'm just saying your minds are brilliant. And the way you,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
organize this stuff.
Yes.
And if they go out and get a legit, you know,
Right.
job choice, career
Right.
choice, we can move that
Right.
poverty
You could.
level up.
Yeah, but I think we're in a much more drastic situation right now. We have a couple of neighborhoods that are so poor that they propagate a culture of crime and poverty. We have, and I hate to say it, but one of the solutions to that is just to get rid of those neighborhoods.
But I mean, that's correct though.
Just take a bulldozer.
Yeah, it's correct because like when you look at how when they redid Lincoln Park, was it Lincoln Park? No, out of Barbara. Yeah, no, Jeffrey Wilson. The one across from Kroger used to be Jeffrey Wilson. So it used to be Jeffrey Wilson. They redid the apartments and they moved, you know, people around and stuff, and they kind of broke it up because it used to be a bad area to go to. Now it's not. So you know, and so I agree. When you break these areas up, and start moving people out, you know. So
I had one person approach me and say, "Well, where are those people going to go?" And I understand that the heart that they have for these people, they want to. But we are doing a disservice to those people if we aren't adequately supporting them. We are supporting that crime culture. And maybe Virginia Beach, maybe Chesapeake ought to pick up some of the slack. It doesn't have to be Portsmouth's burden. We can't solve all we have so much of that culture here in the city that we need to clean it out. And I don't know that having more welfare programs, more support programs for poor neighborhoods is how it does it.
Well, I think what we have now, we just need to use it with a purpose efficiently. I don't think you should get on it and live on it and stay on it. Like some people that I know, it's to me, it's a stepping stone. If you need it, use it to get ahead.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But don't make it your
culture, your life.
Right. And then pass it down to your children and their children. And that's
welfare is the philosophy behind. If you go to school and study welfare mentality, it starts out as, well, let's help the quadriplegics. They really need our help. And then 10 years later, the next generation goes, well, what about the paraplegics? They're only missing 2 legs. Let's help them. And then it progresses to, well, wait a minute, let's help the people that are missing 1 arm. And then it progresses to, well, let's help the people that are missing a finger. And then it finally progresses to, let's help the people who are having a hangnail. And people have this bleeding heart to help everybody, and it's like you're not helping them by supporting them through all this. You have to draw a solid line somewhere and say, these are the people we're helping, and if you're above that, get a job.
Right. I agree. You know, I do not believe in staying on that. When people be like, oh, she's been out there for 20-some years, I'm like, how?
Yeah.
You know, so
why?
Right. And I believe in what we saw when they do move, when they tear down these different places, people find places for themselves to go.
They will find a place to go.
Move, you know. And so I believe that'll happen.
So I've been rather harsh in saying that a lot of Portsmouth problems could be solved with a bulldozer. But and it's not well received.
I'm used to how you talk. They might have me used to
I don't know how to express it in a different way. That doesn't sound so coarse. But it really is. We are doing a disservice to poor people because we can't support all of them.
Right.
So we're making the situation worse. And if you look at these numbers, this financial stress number that I'm talking about, you can see over time the numbers going down and down and down and down and down into more poverty. So we're helping more poverty people, and by doing that, we're attracting more poverty people. And it's not a good cycle of growth. It spirals way down.
And see, and that's another thing that I do. Like I have to this week go talk to some. I think it's this week. Go talk to some children, and my goal is to put in their minds that I don't have to stay where I am.
No.
You know, and I have the power within me to do and become whatever it is I want to be. And I think once they start thinking like that, then they'll start thinking of ways to maneuver into where they want to be. But it has to be in their minds, and somebody need to tell them. You know, I talk about this all the time. I didn't always think like I thought. I was a deputy sheriff when I was like in my late 20s.
Right.
And I was on the road. And, you know, people think that there's a whole bunch of racism down south. And I mean, it is, but, you know, you find good in every race. You know, so me and this guy was driving.
I'd like to see us get away from race descriptions.
Yeah.
My son, his fiance is black.
Mm-hmm.
My brother's wife is black.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a totally different culture than what I grew up in, which was before you were were born. Totally different.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I try to tell people. Don't, just because a person don't look like you don't mean they can't help you.
Right.
Or they want to advise you. This man told me, he said, listen, you're a young mother. Either you're doing good, you went to college, this is what I need you to do. Get you a job. Get you a business. That's what he told me. He said, I don't care what
That's what I tell all my employees. Do not consider this your job. Consider this your career and your business. You negotiate for the salary that you think you are worth, and you approach it as a business person. Do not come in here thinking you're just here for a job.
Right.
I want you to succeed, not only and learn some lessons, and I do root canals for a living, so while I'm drilling, I'm talking to my employees about the success principles and where they can go and what they can do, which makes it a problem for me keeping employees because they all want to go do something successful.
Right, because you motivate them,
we
though. And that's what happened to me. He said, go sell you some Avon. He said, I don't care if you got to buy it stuff.
Oh, Avon, Amway, all the others will teach you some basic success principles that you can't get anywhere else. And there's some hard lessons in there.
Yeah. I did Amway too first, and then I did the Avon when he talked to me. But ever since he spoke to me about it, I've always had something on the side.
Right. Always.
You know, always. And this is my first time actually just doing for myself without having a job on the side. So I just try to encourage other people, listen, you can do it. It doesn't matter how old you are. Go get it. And my grandmother always told me, you don't wait for anybody to give you anything. You go get it. My grandmother I think she had like 7 kids, and she wouldn't accept any assistance. You know, she just wouldn't. She was like, I'm going to work for mine.
I heard an interesting phrase, something. It was concerning waiting to be rescued, that we all think there's going to be somebody going to come rescue us like they did when our parents rescued us. And it's interesting because the only person that's going to come rescue you is yourself. Yeah, I agree. Which I thought was, wow, what a powerful statement that was.
And you can do it. That's the thing. You can do it. You know, it might not come. It's going to be some struggles. It's going to be hard at times. But as long as you don't give up, and then it's rewarding. It's really rewarding.
Well, I got a degree in aerospace engineering, so I did jet engine design. I was an aerospace engineer for a while. And the whole industry fell out. And I was in such financial area. I had not established anything. We just put a deposit down on a house. So we were going to lose the house. We were going to lose our car. We were going to lose everything. And I said, okay, let's go. And so we sold everything and went back to school. And took out loans. Then I went back to school and became an endodontist. And then I found out that I had cancer. And that completely wiped out our savings. Completely a couple years ago. So a lot of my friends and cohorts have retired, and I'm still working through, trying to get through that. But a lot of people don't realize that those are major changes in life. You know, and it's like you're saying, you always have to reset with the mindset to say, what's next? Rather than, oh, poor me. You know, it's like, no, what's the goal for the next one? Keep it moving forward rather than reflect on all the bad things that have happened. There's a lot of handicaps that I have that I'm not showing you here because of the cancer. Things that I have to do to my body is not the same as yours. Other than male and female, but there are other things that don't work. That
you're going through. And you're still pushing.
And we have to push. You have to say, oh, I'm alive. There's so many things. I got one more thing I want to do. I just got my first beehives yesterday.
Oh, did you?
Yes. So now I got beehives. I'm looking for beekeepers in Portsmouth to say, help! Show me what this is.
I saw the wine career that you started when you started. You were posting.
No, it's a distillery.
The distillery.
Yes.
Is that here?
No, it's in Cologne. We are trying to make America's colonial spirits. So distilled spirits like whiskey, rum, gin, those others. So the first spirits that came over to America How did they get here is what we're studying.
Okay.
So we're researching all the books, trying to find the original manifests, who brought what, like John Smith, when he came over and met Pocahontas, brought with him something called aquavit.
Okay.
What's a old Latin phrase that means the water of life. And they discovered it because they distilled the water that was in beer and wine. And they said, well, water is really what sustains us, and we can get something out of that. It really must be what creates life. Well, that was the science they had at the time. So they named it the water of life. It's what we now call it alcohol.
Okay. Gotcha.
Alcohol back now. But we're trying to find out how did the first one get here, like the first single malt, the first bourbon, the first rum, and the first gin. So we're trying to say, can we give you a taste of what they tasted back then? So you walk into our place and taste it, and it will actually be as close to reproduction as we can get. So stills back then, when you think of Irish whiskey, you think of these big, huge, beautiful copper stills. Well, that wasn't always the case. The original first spirits were distilled in a laboratory, and in laboratories they had glass equipment. So the first spirits, the first aquavit, were all made using glass laboratory stills. So that's what we have. We have a reproduction of the glass laboratory stills they had back in the 16 and 1500s. And we're using those. They're about $2,000 a piece to have them. They're only about this big.
Oh, wow.
And so we're using those to actually make them.
Oh, my
So
goodness.
it's kind of a neat little thing that we can go study the history.
So y'all in operation now?
I've been in operation for 8 years now.
8 years?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
And I brought you a little present from there.
Did you?
Yes, ma'am, I did. So I brought you one of our products. This is the single malt whiskey. This is a reproduction of the one from John Smith and Pocahontas.
Okay, thank you. Look, y'all. And where did you say it's located?
Williamsburg.
Oh, it's in Williamsburg. Okay, so not too far. And the name of it?
8 Shires Colonial Distillery.
Okay. Oh, 8 Shires. It's right here.
Yep, right
8
there.
Shires Colonial Distillery. So y'all check that out in Williamsburg. Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much. And, you know, it's always, I like to go on your posts and I read your posts and your comments, because you're not negative as far as just talking bad about folks and just downing them, and that's what I think I mean, you say what you're gonna say, but
I am quite direct. I have not learned. I went to high school with Elizabeth Simmons.
Oh, did you?
And we were part of a conservative group in high school. And right after high school, she went and joined the Democratic Party. Okay. And I said, Elizabeth, what are you doing? And she has been a dyed-in-the-wool Democrat ever since then. Okay. And she's a sweet, sweet person. I love her dearly since then. But she's learned the art of politics, and I have not. Okay. And so she's very diplomatic in everything she says. She can talk to an extreme liberal or an extreme conservative and nod her head and say, yes, I understand. Whereas I'm going to look at him and say, the world's not like that. And so you're right. I can be quite direct. Yeah, you're direct, but I don't see where you're real derogatory as far as downing people and stuff like that. And I can talk to people like that because I'm not a person. I don't really like to talk about folks. But I'm gonna talk about what you're doing and what I don't agree with. So, but I think our council is coming. It's coming along. Sparks. Yeah, sparks, y'all. Sparks. I want to see a fire. Like I went to the last meeting and I was talking about Mimi, the city manager, and I said I want to see her sweat. I want to see y'all make that woman sweat. Get some work out of her. I know she cares about Portsmouth. And I do know that, and I just think that she's gonna be okay. I think she's got the capability of she understands the basic finances. I still want to see the whole council and her pull together to set measurable goals. Yeah. Things that we can look at and we say, okay, we're the bottom 10 now. How do we get at least to the top 50? And just because, and give me one or two of these that you're gonna make us take us there. So we can and if we make that goal, we can cheer Portsmouth. We can say, hey, listen, we've achieved something. But right now we're the bottom 10. But I bet you they come with those goals. Just because they don't directly say, oh, we listening to you, Dr. Dawson. They hear you, and I bet you before you know it, they gonna come and they go. So to me, sometimes is we didn't have the idea, we didn't bring it to the table, so we're gonna kind of push to the side, but I bet you Portsmouth gonna come up with some goals because you brought it before them, and they're coming. I've been harping on it for 2 years. Oh well.
I'm trying, y'all.
2 years. But like I said, if we keep repeating it, eventually somebody might catch on. There's a whole bunch of things that, like I said, my political acumen is not high. When I speak to someone, it's black or white. It's right or wrong. And lots of times people think it is confrontational, and I'm like, no, I just want to fix it.
Right.
You know, let's make it better than what it is.
Yeah, and that's because I used to go to the meetings. I watch them online,
Right.
but I used to go down there. But when they were doing the arguing and stuff, you remember?
Right.
I couldn't. I was like, I'm not.
Oh, they're still doing it. We still got two members on the council that all they want to do is argue.
Yeah, I don't want to hear that. I just really want to hear about.
But there's
the
still
business.
the old group, the old city council members that we have right now are so set in the old ways of coming to the meetings and taking what the city manager has put in front of them and saying either yay or nay. Okay, I'm done. I did my job. I'm like, that's not doing your job. You're supposed to be looking at the city manager saying, here's our list of goals. What's our status on these?
Right.
I need an answer. And that is being proactive rather than being reactive. And right now they've got such a culture of being reactive. They're waiting for the bomb to go off and then they'll go clean it up. I'm like, I want to prevent the bomb from going off.
Yeah.
The statue incident that we had, that was a bomb.
Oh,
that should have been prevented.
I agree.
Not clean up afterwards, because clean up afterwards is horrible.
You know, with that statue, I was there with then Mayor John Rowe when they had announced they were going to move it. We had went to the graves yard to where they were going to move it to, and that was like, and the statue was torn down. I think 4 years later, he was almost out of office, I believe, when when it happened. And I was like, I personally wanted them to just wait till they moved it. You know what I'm saying? Don't tear that statue down like that.
Because it created a division among people.
Yeah.
I mean, the division already existed, but it exacerbated it. It made it worse.
I believe it did.
And now we've got I wish I could say that the white portion of our population has accepted it, but if you asked them before the incident, nobody really cared about the statue. It was like, oh, it's a historical marker. Let's keep it as a historical marker. It's part of the history of Portsmouth. But since that incident, there's been a big separation that I don't know how to heal it.
Because I believe that if it was moved properly, that
wouldn't it have been unifying?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so. They should have had something. Yes. Exactly right. It would have brought a whole bunch of people together, I think.
I think so. And we just, I mean, now we're just at each other's throat. Those of us who does it, you know, me personally, no, I don't take sides.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm
but
for what's right.
The Civil War was 8 generations ago. We still have a council member that stands up and says, that Civil War, those white people, this is what they did to us. And I'm like, I want to look at him and say, 8 generations. That's not my grandparents. That's not my grandparents. Yeah. It's my great, 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 great grandparents that you're talking about.
Yeah,
8 generations.
He's on a different level.
On a different
sometimes
wavelength.
I feel like come on, Doctor.
It's not unifying.
Yeah.
No way does it bring us together, and that's where these goals
need to be. And when you're representing the city,
right?
You represent us as a whole.
Yes.
You know, and that's not a good thing.
It's not encouraging. There needs to be a force to bring us together to say, let's work towards these goals, rather than look what everybody did to me 8 generations ago.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
I really don't. But before we close up, let me ask you this.
All right.
This lawsuit that's coming
Which
back.
one?
The one with Miss Angel Jones. I only read bits and pieces.
She just withdrew it, didn't she?
She withdrew it and she put another one.
Oh, I thought she hadn't put the new one in yet.
No, no, she submitted a new one with Steve Heretic and the other lawyer. Okay. And but what they wrote was, you know, the accusations about the bribery and stuff, the accepting bribes and stuff. And I'm like, is she really gonna be able to prove that? What is this really? I'm trying to figure out how you gonna prove that they accept the bribe. Who's going to admit that they pay these people to do this stuff? You
can see a lot of backdoor stuff going on. there's a lot of our politicians who say they're not involved, but they get favors for their friends, and their friends in return business favors to them. And so there's a lot of dirt going on with our city council, and proving that is hard because a lot of them know how to do it without breaking the law.
Right.
But it is nepotistic, I
Yeah.
guess is the right word.
It's no, to me, isn't, yeah, I wouldn't deny that it's happening.
Yeah.
I was just more like, how is she going to prove that this stuff is happening?
Right, and that's what there's a very big burden of proof on her to prove it, to bring witnesses forward, to have paperwork that shows that. You're correct.
Yeah, that was just my concern. But
chances are that you're right. I think the suit will get dismissed and thrown out because she's not going to have evidence to prove it.
yeah,
I liked her very much.
I did too.
Yeah.
I thought she was sincere. I know she would get out in the community. I know she, whenever you called her, she was on it.
Right, you could talk. She was very personable. She very much.
Yeah, because she tried to help me before I went to work for the city part-time with the Parks and Recs, because I only went to them to do a program, because I had a program. So I was like, well, maybe I could get the grant. I can do the program for the kids free, and and with the grant. And so, but they was like, well, why don't you work with us and you can do your program that way? Well, it never came, but she did try to help me. She was really instrumental on what she can do to better
support it.
Yeah, and she didn't even, a lot of times it seems like they don't want the people, the citizens to help. To me, she was more for, can we get help from the citizens, or reaching out to those grassroots organizations.
Get people to participate. And I think that's a lot of the problem we have, like you started out with, is we don't have a lot of citizens participation. There is a lot of people that feel like they can't get anything done. I'm still working on a building permit. It's over 2 years that I'm working on getting a building permit. It shouldn't take 2 years to get a building permit through the city. Things like that shouldn't happen. So I feel the frustration, and everybody's going to say, if it takes 2 years to get a building permit, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to go around and do what I want. We need to facilitate things, like you're talking about.
Absolutely.
And we don't have a good culture or philosophy to do that.
No. So I wish her well. I really do. I can only pray for her. I can only imagine the embarrassment that she went through alone, to me, when they fired her. But I wish her well. I just hope that whatever she and Steve Heritage, who I think is a good attorney, whatever they're doing, I pray that it comes, Oh, we'll have to get our taxes raised. Anything, because we got so many lawsuits going on. Oh, my
but the
goodness.
taxes, like I said, I think the taxes are out of balance because we don't have the right infrastructure in the city, the right balance of poor, rich, and industry.
And hopefully, like you said, Miss Mimi, with her finance history background,
she has the foundation,
that she can get that situation. I think that should be a plus for us, being that she does that.
Well, the retreat is local, so people can go and attend the retreat and watch it. It's at TCC.
Oh, okay. Let me put
and you
this
can
in.
go and watch them on the retreat. I don't know. We're not going to be participating, but we can see what's happening.
You said it's April 14th?
Somewhere around there. It's either 13, 14, or 15. It's 2 of those days. I'm not sure which 2 it is.
Okay, at TCC. Retreat. Yeah,
And Dwayne, as soon as you turn that camera off, I'll give you Dwayne's number and you can call him too.
Oh, yes. I got him right here. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for this. I'm going to let you know how.
Well, no, this is a single malt, like a Scotch.
Okay.
What they would call Scotch whiskey, but it's the American version of it.
Okay.
It's very light. And we made it light to appeal so that, because women always say, well, I don't like Scotch because it's so strong. Well, we made a light version that should appeal to the female population too.
Oh, okay.
So not all Scotches are like this. This is a wheat, not a wheat, I'm sorry, this is a malt, which is barley, malted barley.
Okay.
Bourbon that we make is a wheat bourbon.
Oh my goodness, I love it. I love it. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
And thank you guys, those who have joined us and those who are going to join us, for sticking with this program. I think it was very informative. I love listening to Mr. Dodson talk or his looking at his. I mean, follow him because a lot of stuff he said makes so much sense, and you know, a lot of things we don't know. He's on top of it. So I thank you once again. You are. Thanks for joining me and say hello to your wife for me.
Thank you.
All right. And y'all have a great
Happy Easter.
day. Happy Easter.